All right. Well, welcome everyone. Today's April 20th, 2020, and I am going to be your host for today's edition of the TSJG Neighborhood News. And this is our resident forum agenda edition, so we have a lot of information to go over for all of you. First of all, let's see, who can I see on my screen? Mr. and Mrs. Hanson, if you can see my screen, can you wave at the camera if you can see the TSJG 88? Perfect, wonderful, thank you so much. Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. If the computer will move, there we go. So as of this Sunday, was that, yeah, 17th, we have 311 cases in Fresno County of COVID, 41 travel related, 103 close contact, 110 community spread unknown, and 57 under investigation. And then 7 deaths, 69 hospitalized, and 76 recovered. Is Valerie on the call? Because she wanted to share some information regarding this, but if she's not, I can go.
I'm on.
Okay, so this is the dashboard from Fresno County if you want to walk them through it. And then I didn't tell you, but I added some other information from our call we just got off of right now. So is there anything else that you would highlight on this grid?
I just wanted to show them the Fresno County graph so they could see, how we're peaking there on April 17th. And so we can kind of watch it over time and see when it starts to trend downward.
Okay. And I have some other graphs to share. And so Valerie and I will kind of walk you through this information. But this is Fresno County again. And this is by age, hospitalized versus not hospitalized. So you can see the dark gray are the areas of individuals that are hospitalized, and you can see how that jumps up at 65 and older, the number of folks that are hospitalized, which again, you've seen that in the media, that it's so important that we make sure we really help folks shelter in place that are over that age of 65. This graph was also just shared with us, and this is kind of looking at California over time, but this is by in the Los Angeles Times tracking coronavirus in California. As of Sunday, 31,000 cases, 1,178 deaths. The coronavirus pandemic is spreading rapidly across California. Experts say the true number of people infected is unknown and likely much, much higher than the official tallies. Some of the disease experts we've talked to said the numbers might be 60 times higher than what is reported, because there are so many individuals that are just not getting tested, or their symptoms don't rise to the level of being tested. I've seen that even just in Human Good, the Human Good family, how many, when they've decided to test an entire building because of an outbreak, how many folks were just completely asymptomatic and remained asymptomatic during the 14-day quarantine time, but tested positive. So what we know that the tallies will continue to climb. Over the past week, the state has averaged 1,176 new cases and 71 new deaths per day. The cases are widespread. The patients have tested positive in 53 of 58 counties. And then obviously some cities have been hit very hard. The largest concentration for California is obviously in the Los Angeles County, which is home to half of the people who have passed away thus far. Nursing homes, which is their term, not mine, obviously, you know that, are a focal point for the crisis. And I know that when people look at senior living, they think of skilled nursing. They don't, and they kind of lump everything into skilled nursing. But they have had a lot of fatalities. And one of the nursing homes in Visalia is the one that's making the most national news, because they have had the most cases. And I'll share a headline from that with you on our Thursday call. But it's very important that people use PPE and train their team, etc., because it is a very contagious disease. Our total still sits far below New York, where more than 18,200 people have died. So anytime you're watching the news, you can obviously see that. So Fresno is doubling in the last 9 days or so, and this graph kind of showcases that. As you can see, that blue line and kind of how we've doubled in cases every 9.9 days. And so that's what that graph is showing you there. And for those that went through our Zoom tutorial, feel free to use that chat function if you have a question as I go through this. And if not, certainly just write it down and we can chat at the end once I unmute everyone. And Valerie, feel free to unmute yourself at any time if there's anything else that you would share on a slide. So the most recent chatter, both locally in Fresno and overall as a nation, has been, when will the shelter in place stop? When will we quote unquote open back up? And so the real answer to that is when we can test appropriately to have an understanding of what the disease truly is doing in these areas. So I thought this was a very important slide in terms of how many tests we need to be doing to open back up. We need to switch from saying to people, if you have mild symptoms, if you're not feeling super sick, don't come in and stay home, to if you have any symptoms, you need to come in and get tested right away. And the reality behind that is we need to have the appropriate number of tests and supplies available to us so that we can say those things. So it's estimated that the number of tests needed to serve the 1 million people in Fresno County is 1,520 tests per day, so that we can have an accurate portrayal of what the virus is doing in our city. And as of April 15th, we were doing 45 tests. I think that's supposed to be March. I think that's what do you think that is? Is that May?
May.
That's May? Okay.
Yeah.
As of May 15th, the level needed to safely open would be 152 tests, and I can showcase that a little bit better. So how many tests per day in Fresno County? About 150 to 250 tests per day would be needed. They're basically saying we need to be doing about 1,200 more tests per day to safely reopen. And this is kind of the graph showing what we've been doing test-wise. So I don't know if there's anything else you would add to that, Valerie?
No, just that the health department is doing a clinic 3 days a week, so they're encouraging people to, you know, instead of going to the hospital, to go there as well, so that we can get more of these tests done, because the hospitals are having a hard time keeping up with this expectation.
And I don't know if you saw in the news, but Fresno State University is also starting to do some testing to help out, but we still don't have the actual tests. The swab kits are what's necessary. So we can, the health department is actually encouraging places to create drive-by test sites so that we can get more testing done for Fresno County, so we can really understand what the virus is doing in the greater area. But unless we have the actual swab kits, that's all a moot point. And the swab kits are hopefully coming. We're supposed to get more this week, if not early next week, but they still are in incredibly short supply, not just in Fresno, not just in California, but across the country. Those swab kits are in terribly short supply. So there are other counties I'm aware of in California that cannot get tests at all, no matter how hard they beg. They just don't have enough to go around, and they're being more hard hit than we are in Fresno. So for San Joaquin Gardens specifically, our little neck of the woods, we do not have any update in terms of there is no COVID activity that we are aware of. We've had a few people go to the hospital that were tested at the hospital as a precaution, and they went out for unrelated issues and came back negative. So we continue to do that, but I still want to reiterate, as we've seen this virus spread, as we've seen how contagious it is, that, you know, our goal is not to mitigate it from ever crossing the threshold to this campus. Our goal is to have all of you and our team trained to how when we get COVID back on this campus, how we will work with it, how we will treat it, because it's not a failure on our part if we have somebody that's COVID positive within our population. Our job is to protect and serve all of the residents, even during that circumstance. So I really want to change that frame of mind from us keeping it out. The reality is it's not keeping it out, it's managing it when it's here is what we really need to be focused on as a community. Switching gears, I wanted to talk a little bit about our financial report as an organization. So I'm going to talk first about San Joaquin Gardens, and then I'll speak to Human Good overall. So, and I want to say that these numbers look really great. And we did have a great first quarter, but they are not reflective of the COVID environment and the COVID expenses that we're incurring. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So overall, you can see our total revenue here at the bottom, a positive variance of 32,000 or 1.3%, primarily driven by skilled nursing. As you can see right here, the skilled nursing number, 36,000 above budget. Well, that's also what's going to drive what's happening at the rest of our campus right now, because we are not going to see that positive variance for some time. On the expense side of things, you see a nice pickup here of 99,000 in total employee cost, a 9% savings. So we were under budget by 99,000, and that really is us flexing down our staffing as our census began to diminish, especially in skilled, but in other areas as well. Supplies a little over budget, but that's to be expected with, I'm actually surprised it's not a little bit higher because of all of the additional COVID expenses. Our ancillary services expenses right here, over budget by 16,000. Again, that's a direct offshoot of the positive variance in skilled nursing. So when you have high therapy costs for those Medicare folks, you're going to see the high ancillary cost. All of the other, the nice pickup here in utilities under budget by 16,000 brought us all down to operating expenses showing a positive variance of $104,000. For the month, what does that mean? That simply means that we had a surplus of funds, or a positive operating margin. So we had a surplus of about 147,000 or 59%. Overall, for the year to date, so for that first quarter, we ended the year positively at $422,000 variance or 65%. So as I said, it was a great first quarter for San Joaquin Gardens, but let's look at Human Good overall. So Human Good overall, this graph represents the occupancy trends for each level of living. Human Good West is all the communities but Philadelphia. Human Good East represents Philadelphia. If you look at this gray line here, that's the most important line because that has the biggest financial impact on us as an organization, and that is our skilled nursing census. So you can see here, we kind of peaked in January, which typically we do post the holidays. You'll see skilled nursing census rise, and then we kind of, continued on, and then COVID hit, and you can absolutely see where COVID hit and skilled nursing just completely dropped down to almost 71%. For each 1% drop in revenue for skilled nursing census, that represents $1.5 million for us as an organization. So we are down 17% in the last 3 months. Now, while that has the steepest decline, it will have the fastest pickup. So once hospitals start doing elective surgeries and start operating normal business again, we will see that gray line shoot back up. very dramatically. So it will fall the quickest, but it will also rise the quickest. You can also see on here, the yellow line is memory care. It kind of dips a little bit. And then the orange line is assisted living. It pretty much stayed the same, as did the blue line, which is residential. So the story behind that really is how our skilled nursing revenue can dramatically impact operations overall. So that's why I share those numbers, because from your perspective, it could very much look like normal operations on this campus. You know, yes, we're doing things a little differently because of COVID, and we're dining a little differently, and we're receiving packages a little differently. But the biggest change that Human Good is experiencing as an organization, which wasn't really reflected in our financials because our village got hit the latest part of March with census, is that skilled nursing drop off, which that's why I wanted to showcase that to you. So that allows for our net cash production is about 8 million behind budget through the first quarter. It could be 15 to 20 million by the end of quarter 2. And again, we just can't predict if that census is going to go back up quickly. It really depends on what happens at the hospitals. When the hospitals start going again, our skilled nursing revenue will start going again. So I'm gonna unmute you all just for a moment and see if there's any questions on the financials before I continue. So any questions on those financials before I continue? Remember, you can mute yourselves. If you have some background noise, we'd ask that you do so. So I see one question in the chat. So Dennis Painter asked me if the decline in skilled nursing revenue is directly correlated to elective surgeries. There is definitely a correlation. It's not the sole correlation. I would actually argue that a lot of this probably also has to do with the sheltering in place, meaning people aren't running to the store, aren't running to visit kids, and doing all of those things, which is where accidents could happen. So it's just, I think we just actually, the Fresno County Department of Health was showcasing that people just aren't going to the emergency room right now. They're just not. And so maybe they're dealing with health issues at home. It's hard to say, but the fact that people are avoiding hospitals, let's put it that way, is definitely what correlates to the skilled nursing occupancy dropping. Any other questions on the financials before I continue? So I share that with all of you because in the coming days, we're going to be making some tough financial decisions in the organization. So I'm going to mute you all, and so look for more information from me on this topic, because we do have to proactively make sure we are doing well in that regard. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody and go back to my presentation. All right. So that was my overview on the financial status of San Joaquin Gardens and Human Good. If there was a pandemic to happen to Human Good financially, we are well prepared in the fact that we had just refinanced all of those bonds. So I don't want this to be all doomsday. Yes, financially, there is great constraints being put upon us. This pandemic is having an economic impact on the global economy, and certainly Human Good is being impacted, as I just shared. But the fact that we refinanced all of those bonds, that we have all of that cash on hand, we have over a year's worth of cash on hand. So if we didn't make any revenue for a year, we could continue our operations as they currently stand. Obviously, we need to make some economic decisions to protect ourselves going forward, given the constraints that we have on our financials as an organization. The next item I wanted to bring up is to let you know that the home office is going to be contacting each of you. We will be putting a flyer for all of you so that you can have more information on this. But the reason they're contacting all of you is to make sure we have all of your information updated in our systems. They're doing it on our behalf just because we're so busy right now at the community level. So they have some home office team members that they can allocate to do this. They're just going to call each of you and to see who your responsible party is, what phone number we should have listed for them, an email address, if any, because a new regulation was just passed saying that if there is a COVID positive individual on the campus, we are required to notify all family members and residents. I believe the regulation states within 12 hours. So really that means by email at this point, because you couldn't call 500 family members. That would be very difficult. So we need to make sure we have updated email information on all of our responsible parties for our residents. So that's the genesis behind why they're making the phone calls. But again, we will give you specific information, because my big fear was that you all would think that it was a scam. So we'll put specific information about who is contacting you from the home office, how they'll identify themselves, etc. So we just wanted you to know that that's coming. You'll look for a flyer and with your meal delivery, and also we'll put something on Touchdown. A quick human resources update. We have hired some additional team members, as you can see here. So a new housekeeper, a new village team member, Starla, in assisted living, Amy and Sandeep, in housekeeping, Alma, and memory care, Emily. Most of these, if not all, are on call, but we were building up our workforce to make sure if we did get a lot of call-offs due to COVID, that we would have team members to rely upon. So I know this seems contrary to the message I just shared in terms of where we're at financially, but these individuals were hired to offer some surplus staffing should we need them in the coming days due to team members needing to be out for COVID. And then Christopher at dining, and Emerson in transportation, and Thomas in dining. We've also had some team members that have left us, and they're listed here, and we wish them well in their next endeavors. For our village, we wanted to let you know that yes, we are still continuing to accept the term for the village's admissions or folks from the hospital. We are screening them quite carefully to make sure that there's no possibility that they have COVID, as we don't want to bring that onto our campus unbeknownst to ourselves. We are asking those people to quarantine and remain in their rooms for 14 days, maybe leaving just for some rehabilitation purpose. But that's just to let you know that we are still taking, I think we're having 2 admissions today from the hospital, that we still are open for business. It's just much slower than what we've ever experienced before. I think this is the lowest census in my entire career that I've seen in our village healthcare center. So it's something that we have to accommodate for. So this kind of shows the historical look back of we're budgeted to have a census of 51 in our village healthcare center. Our annual average for this year has been 47.7, which is lower than budget and actually much lower than if you had looked at last year's annual average. Our average would have been probably 50.5. So in 2019, our average would have been 50.5. This year, our average has been 47.7, and our actual is 38. So for each one under that 51, that's about a $10,000 revenue hit. So right now, being budgeted at 51 and only having 38, we're looking at a loss of revenue of over $100,000 a month just for San Joaquin Gardens. So those are, they might seem like small numbers, but they're huge numbers in terms of revenue and what that means for the financial engine of San Joaquin Gardens. The payer mix down here at the bottom, Medicare Part A, and that's the highest payer source. So we're budgeted to have 20, we actually have 14. Medicare pays us anywhere from, gosh, $400 a day up to $600 or $650 a day, depending on what services are giving. Managed care are the HMOs that we contract with, and they might pay, depending on what contract, $300 to maybe $400 a day. Private contract pay about $300 a day, and Medi-Cal pays a little over, I think, $200 a day, or right at $200 a day. So those numbers, particularly on the Medicare and managed care side, have a huge, huge financial impact for us at San Joaquin Gardens. Again, this is just another way to look at it, but you can see the number of admissions in that teal color. So in January, almost in the mid to late 40s. In February, we had, close to 60 admissions. And then in March, only 40. And then look what we've done in April so far. So we're 20 days into April and we've had 10 admissions. I mean, it's just slow right now. So it's just kind of to show you that there's just not a lot of activity, and that's deteriorating the revenue possibilities in our Village Healthcare Center. In sales, we continue to move along. We have a new resident, Jewel Savoy, moving into Sequoia 110. We have Wayne and Bonnie Green moving into Milano 328. So we're excited to have them join our campus. And once we have official dates for when they'll be moving in, we'll let you know. It's a whole new world for marketing right now, because our marketing was completely dependent on people coming to campus, and obviously that has stopped. But that doesn't mean that we have stopped our marketing campaigns. So we've begun email campaigns where we're emailing our leads tips on how to stay active at home, links to our fitness videos. We are introducing a new app called the One Day app. It'll improve the ability for us to communicate with our potential customers. It's actually a really neat app that they can go on their phone or on their iPad, but essentially it'll create high quality branded videos that we can share with our potential customers. So this is how we're going to be able to share what the apartments look like. So, very similar to right now, if you're trying to sell a home, everybody's doing that virtually. People aren't coming and physically looking at the home. So this app will allow us to virtually showcase our empty apartments and show our model apartments so that potential residents can see that and continue to generate interest in San Joaquin Gardens. We also can share this with family members via email and text message. Our current occupancy for independent living is 93%. Assisted living is 80%, which is also low for us, but we imagine that'll pick back up. Memory support at 93% and skilled nursing at 70%. So again, that skilled nursing number is the quickest to take the hit in terms of the economy, but also be able to the quickest to rebound once our hospitals are back to normal operations. What's going on in activities and lifestyle enrichment? Well, we figured, given everything that's going on, everybody would love a trip to the beach. And while we can't do that because beaches are closed, and after all the cookies we've been eating and whatnot, none of us want to be in a bikini, we can still bring Hawaii to all of you. So Friday, May 1st will be Aloha Friday. Team members will be going around to each neighborhood serving tropical concoctions to you all door to door. I'm sure that there will be lots of luau attire. We encourage you to wear your luau attire. Grab a seat on your balcony and porch, wave aloha to your neighbors. The dining meals will coordinate with our Hawaiian theme. So that day we will have some Hawaiian fare, but I hope not that, what's that really gross stuff that people eat in Hawaii? Oh, no.
Pau or something like that.
Pau or something. I don't know. It was disgusting.
spam.
They do eat a lot of spam. Hawaii. Yes, thank you, Shirley. Hopefully not that, because that's gross, unless you guys like it, in which case more to you, and we will serve that. But we're just trying to find new and different ways to brighten your day and to spread some cheer. So we thought, maybe this would be fun, especially as it starts to warm up in Fresno, for us to have our own version of Hawaii right here at TSJG. On Touchdown, we've added the Monday mix-up at 4 p.m. There'll be exercise videos from other Human Good fitness instructors. You can view all of those videos on YouTube, and you can search for Human Good and click on Home Fitness Classes for older adults. But if you do want a personalized at-home exercise plan, please contact AJ at 430-8293, and he'll be glad to help you with that. AJ is also working on creating a database of videos of single and simple exercise moves you could do at home. We've heard a lot of you that you were worried about kind of your sedentary lifestyle right now because of sheltering in place. So just know that we hear that concern and we're working on that for all of you. Starting at Tuesday, April 21st, 11:30 a.m. on Channel 88, we will be showing birthday videos all that week. In celebration of birthday, we'll be showing some short educational birthday videos. So tune in to Channel 88 for that, so we can celebrate this wonderful place we call home, our Earth. And high school dining services. In dining services, we have a lot going on. So one of the first things you'll see to coordinate with Earth Day, we are going to be bringing the farmers market to you, and you'll be getting a treat from your dining services team, and that's going to come from right to you at Distinctive California Citrus Farm right here in Reedley, California. So this Wednesday, we look for that treat, and we're going to have a treat every Wednesday from our dining team. So after much deliberation with the dining team, as we talked to them about the quality of service that you all are receiving and our real focus and desire to give you a better dining experience during this time of sheltering in place, starting on April 23rd, we'll be switching to 2 deliveries per day. So you can get your lunch meal will be delivered from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and dinner will be delivered from 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Again, this is to allow for the freshest entree being delivered to your door, and to make sure that that looks and tastes as wonderful as possible. We will continue to rotate the building and floors, so we don't have the same person being last all of the time. We also, I hope you have seen that we are launching our alternative menu. So we've heard from many of you, and we recognize that it can get a little bit boring, or if you don't happen to like the meals that are currently being served, what do? Well, now you can place an order a day in advance and choose from one of these alternative menu items and have that brought to your apartment instead of the designated entree. So if you did not like the Chinese chicken salad that was offered this morning, you can simply, if you had seen that 2 days ago, you could have called and said, I would like to have the vegetable plate instead, or I would like to have a baked potato, or chicken tenders and fries, or a burger. So all of this will be available for you to customize your dining experience here at the terraces at San Joaquin Gardens. So again, our only request is that you place an order at least 1 day in advance, and Dine will deliver whatever you choose from this alternative meal in either in addition to or in lieu of your typical order. So I think this is a wonderful thing. I'm very excited that folks will have some options available to them. It'll give some control back to all of you, and hopefully will delight you during this time. So we will be sending out more information about this with your meals so that you can look over this menu and plan accordingly. But we hope that brings you some joy. So again, please call 430-8228 if you would like to choose to have one of these items in place of or in addition to your normally scheduled meal delivery. So a big thank you to the dining team for coming up with this, and we'll continue to find new ways to delight you in dining services. So every Wednesday will be a food fun day, so as I talked about on April 22nd, it will be Earth Day, so we'll be distributing tangerines from local citrus farm here in Reedley, California, and some of you are from Reedley. On April 29th, it will be National Zucchini Bread Day, and we'll be bringing those slices of Sally's famous zucchini bread. I don't have to tell you, so I'm excited to hear it. And so along with the recipe for it, should you want to make your own zucchini bread. So again, every Wednesday we'll have a special treat for you, and this next Wednesday will be a tangerine after zucchini bread, and just more to come. So I'm excited. Zucchini bread is one of my favorites. I got zucchini growing in the garden. I can't wait to eat it. So stay tuned for that special spice. So you're ready to drink. You guys can check this out. So I'm going to just hold your answering like on the way. I'm sure you have a and talk with them, eat, and order your choosing. And again, just one more reminder that now the fresh fruit cups, the premium buffet, etc., all available to you in Pete's Grocery. What's going on in building and grounds? We've got tree trimming happening on this. As we turn away, we're also planting new trees throughout the community. I think some of these were requested specifically by all of you. So a big thank you to our grounds team out there doing their work. And you see that guy, wait, how you think that's 50 feet up in the air? That's pretty far. I wouldn't know if I would want to do it, but they're doing their job. Our teams are also taking this opportunity to make our campus shine as bright as possible. So starting tomorrow, our custodial team will be sweeping through the community, cleaning all of your windows to brighten your view during this time. So you can look for them to be a part of that, but I think it's going to be a wonderful thing to have our team members out there cleaning your windows and making sure your views are as bright and as special as they possibly can be during this time. Pictures of the grounds, everything is in full bloom, and as things tend to warm up a little bit more, you'll see that this campus looks beautiful this time of year. We do want to continue to urge you to get out and take a walk wear your masks while you're doing so, but taking a walk right now, as long as you're not getting close to other people, is a wonderful way to pass the time. Your housekeepers are working extra hard these days to clean and disinfect our communities. They're taking this opportunity to do some additional cleaning and scrubbing throughout the area, so they are working hard. As you might have noticed while you drive on or off campus to your essential appointments, that we do have our spring colors going up. So look for those plantings, and we will continue to brighten the beauty of our campus through the beautiful flowers that we have. I did notice that the iceberg roses, only half of them were blooming out front, so it was funny. One half bloomed, all the other half was completely bloomed, so some are maybe more pretentious than others. We completed the 3 remodels of our facility bathrooms. Those apartments, our bathrooms had very small bathrooms that weren't easily accommodated with a wheelchair or a walker, so we completed those renovations. And we are during after summer completing our 4-week AC filter changes. So you can see our team members coming in cleaning all the AC filters. It's really a good job taking care of the 8 units of HVAC units as we get ready for that summer heat when we know they're going to be under an additional amount of pressure. Security updates, our team members continue to man at our we call our screening tent 24/7 through rain and shine, so they're doing their job. They have nightmare. But please remember, if you have any security issues, you can contact security at 696-1910, and that number stands for 24 hours a day. So during the day, maintenance team member answers that phone after hours, and we're our security team. So we're always available if needed. So now, Mr. President, Dennis here has been pleased to address with you. So Dennis, if you want to go ahead and unmute, I'll first slide. Dennis, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Do you want to speak to this?
I picked this up off the internet. I found it very interesting. This is from Florida. 22,000 residents there in this database. But look at the bottom of the screen. It shows the vulnerability as we get older of the virus. 55 to 64, 18% of the cases, 11% of the deaths. And then as it goes down to the next age group, 65 to 74, 13% of the cases, 24% of the deaths. And then it really gets serious. 75 to 84, most of us are in that range now. 8% of the cases, and yet 32% of the deaths. And then if you're over 85, 4% of the cases and 27% of the deaths. And what this underscores to me is how important it is for us to do everything we can to keep that virus out of here. And if it ever gets in here, to segregate those who are affected so that the rest of us do not have to face the repercussions of that. It also underscores the fact that we really, really need to do everything that each of us can do to minimize or to mitigate the possibilities here.
Thank you. I agree, and I don't want to scare people because but it is scary in terms of we need to protect ourselves. And again, the most important thing we can do is, wearing our masks, limiting our excursions from campus, are you doing that, Dennis? Are you drawing on the screen?
Nope.
Did you know you could do that? I didn't do it. All right, I don't know what's happening.
There is a way of doing it. I played with it the other day, but
I don't have any idea what happened. Well, this is you too. This is your slide, sir.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Well, I'll just talk about it for you. So Dennis has written a really funny but poignant and necessary take on why it's important for all of us to be the masked man. And I've received lots of emails over the weekend and phone calls about the fact that they are seeing residents and or team members walking around without a mask. And so, I know it gets hot. I took my kids on a walk this weekend, and we walked the dog, and all of them were wearing masks, and my husband and I were wearing a mask. And I know it gets hot, and I know it gets uncomfortable, but it really is necessary. So you'll see a lovely story written by Dennis about why everyone should wear a mask, even though none of us really want to. Are you writing on the screen, Dennis? Is that you?
I am not. You want to see it here? Look at my hands.
What's happening? There's something happening. I don't know who's doing that.
I can show you how. I think it's coming from your end though, because it comes off of that whiteboard.
I don't know. I'm not touching anything.
There's a tool on the whiteboard that you can use to write on there.
Well, somebody's touching something. I wonder if maybe here. I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to go back to share. That's so funny.
See my
Okay.
mask?
There you go. Oh, you've got your mask. Thank you.
See
We
right
should have
there.
put
I wear
ours
it around
on
my
for
neck,
that.
even at home.
See? There, Dennis and I are leading the way. We're modeling the way. Okay, somebody's writing on it. Now it's up in the corner. So the next item we wanted to showcase for you all. Sorry, I need to go back. Is it on campus? So first and foremost, your team members are out there spreading hope right now. So blue is the color of hope, the feeling that what is wanted. It's just we want to make sure everybody realizes that there is hope to be had in this world, to have belief and desire and trust. And I think we have that with all of our team members. But this is our clinical team's idea. So you see Valerie and Carol and Lucy and Patty, our nursing team, are going around and they are tying blue ribbons around all of our trees to remind us that there is hope to be had even in the darkest of times. So I love that team continually is finding fun ways to bring us all together even during this time that we have to be apart. So a big thank you to them. All of you should have received your basil plants for your gardening pleasure. If you didn't, let us know, but we hand delivered those last week, and we want to do that, and we hope that you enjoy growing your basil in your apartments because we do want to continue to grow better together even when we're apart. We have new technology, it's actually existing technology, but this is just letting you know that we have we will be recording resident form and other events and placing them on Touchdown. This is their basil garden kit that we already showcased, and this was sent to us by a resident, and it just made me laugh out loud. But we're no longer a bikini anymore. This is the dry bikini, and you have your matching face masks. So for all of you that want to get ready for summer, just remember to grab your trikini.
Now I know where my mask came from.
There you go. There you go. So with that, I will unmute everyone, and I'm going to